All right. I want to watch this Fox News coverage of the CNN segment about Democrats making a big mistake.
The White House is working out where those savings will go. Some of it could make its way into your pocket. Democrats continue to rally against DOGE's efforts. Republican lawmakers say that just doesn't make any sense.
What they've uncovered so far is shocking. And this is, again, only the beginning. The Democrat Party's tantrums are exactly why they hold no majority in Congress and their candidate is not in the White House. DOGE is
ex-CNN host. Excuse me. Sorry.
Rightly pulling back the curtains that have been closed for years. And the outrage we are seeing across the aisle is baffling.
Surely that guy wouldn't be getting money from this, right? Ha ha ha. Famously, Democrats that leave the Democratic Party never make money, right? Ha ha ha. There's not any money to be made in the Conservative Party, luckily.
Peter Doocy is live at the White House for us. Hello, Peter.
Sandra, good morning. And we have some new details about how these DOGE checks could work. And it turns out that before they could be cut and sent and cashed, Congress would first have to go through a long and drawn out spending fight.
20% back to taxpayers, 20% to pay down the debt. 60% is left. Who gets that?
Well, the way that it works is when you achieve savings, you can either return it to taxpayers, you can return it to our debtors, or it can be cycled into next year's budget.
And there's broad bipartisan support for cutting wasteful programs and duplicate payments, but these
They're doing like Republicans right now are doing the opposite of what Bernie was trying to show with Medicare for All, where when you phrase something in a way that makes sense, that actually represents what the program is, people are in support of it. But the other way around. Hey, do you want to cut government spending that's just wasteful? Who would say no to that? Who? Like, yeah, obviously everybody wants there to be less waste in government spending. The problem is that DOGE isn't doing that. It's just kind of taking money away from things that are currently needed and then giving it away to millionaires and billionaires.
Taxpayer refunds are a tough sell even for the president's most important allies in Congress.
If you think about our core principles, right, fiscal responsibility is what we do as conservatives. That's our brand. And we have a $36 trillion federal debt. We have a giant deficit that we're contending with. I think we need to pay down the credit card.
I feel like every time a conservative brings up the deficit, they should be forced to pay in like $100,000 towards the deficit. If you care so much, you should have to pay a tax to bring it up and pretend like it's important. You care so much, okay, pay for it.
Elon Musk does not care that critics accuse DOGE of taking a chainsaw to programs that require more precision. That's why he carried a chainsaw on stage at CPAC just last night. And he dismissed complaints that he's got nefarious plans for people's social security numbers as the world's richest man.
Dude, I almost but I almost feel bad for Republican newscasters on on Fox, because none of these people respect, like literally none of these people respect Elon Musk. All of them see him as like what he is, which is a Nepo baby that's never actually accomplished anything in his life and needs people to support him so he can give them money. And they have to get on air and be like, yeah, Elon Musk, the greatest guy in the world. He's so great. Look, he brought a chainsaw on stage. Oh!
I mean, listen, like
chainsaws famously known for their precision. Oh.
Steal some Social Security, I can finally buy nice things.
And we're also hearing from officials here that when they talk about $50 billion or so that DOGE claims to have cut.
Sorry, you guys can't retire. He needs another mega yacht. He needs 20 more mega yachts.
So far, the actual number would be 10 or 12 times higher than that because of the way that CBO does their projections. Sandra?
Okay. Peter Doocy at the White House on that for us on this Friday. Thank you, Peter. All right. Well, Republican governors are starting to follow President Trump's lead, introducing DOGE-style bills designed to root out waste, reduce inefficiencies, and rid government of abuse. Yet Democrats on Capitol Hill and beyond are railing against those efforts.
What exactly has he been doing? Who is it that he's hired? Who is it that he's firing? How he's coming to the conclusions that he's coming to?
It's tactics.
I like, was that Crockett? I like how they brought on Miss Crockett as like, look at them railing against his efforts. And it's just like, asking basic questions on accountability and saying, well, what specific programs are being cut? Who's being cut? How much is being cut? It's just like the most basic accountability.
Right now, essentially a smash and grab robbery. And speed is to your advantage when you're the smash and grab robber. And doing as much destruction as you can quickly is to your advantage when you're the smash and grab robber.
It's unfortunate that...
Wait, but that's accurate. They accidentally cut funding for trying to deal with bird flu and then had to reinstate those people. That's literally what happened.
This has been an indiscriminate effort led by Elon Musk, one of the richest people, the richest man in the world, who has multiple conflicts of interest as he's looking at...
But that's true. He does have multiple conflicts of interest. Dude, Fox is such brain rot.
What he wants to do with government programs and people.
All right, News Nation host Chris Cuomo says Democrats are repeating their 2024 mistakes.
They're still in campaign mode. Sounds right. It seems like anything that Trump or Musk does, they have to condemn, and they have to condemn it on the basis of the people personally. To me, it just proves they haven't learned their lesson yet, that they should be in the better idea business. And they do seem like they're defending the status quo. They're just defending the establishment. And I don't think that's where you want to be right now. You want to be in the business of better.
All right, so Jessica Anderson, Sentinel Action Fund President
God.
Fred Hicks.
Why are Fox News hosts like so scary? Dude, it's so scary. He's giving Get Out, dude. Oh my God. She looks like young Hillary Clinton. Stop, you're right. She does. What was I going to say? God, that was such a jump scare. God. I like how they juxtapose all of the DOGE stuff with like Cuomo talking about how Democrats are totally fucking incompetent, as if those two things were the related topics. Meanwhile, it's just true that Democrats are just sitting there on their hands and being like, you know, this is really bad. This is really bad. We should do something. If only there was something that we could do. If only there were people that could represent the American population and help them with this problem. Thankfully, we don't know any of these people. So yeah, we're good. Let me see if I can find. I don't know if I have it saved. Can't. I didn't save it. Fuck. It was a really good TikTok. It was a really good comedy TikTok. Making fun of Democrats.
Hicks Evaluation Group founder and president joining us now. Jessica, I'll start with you first.
I found it. Democrats on Twitter, every time Trump passes a new version of the "You Will All Suffer" act.
Newsflash, that's unconstitutional. Newsflash, that's unconstitutional.
The West Wing music, yeah. Yeah.
There have been no lessons learned?
Thanks, Sandra, for having me. No, it seems that Democrats have not learned any lessons from last November's election. They can't even look at this very common sense approach to cutting spending and celebrate it or support it or just stay quiet and let President Trump and members of Congress, and as you pointed out, many state leaders across the country do the things that they were elected to do last November. And I think, Sandra, what's really interesting...
Stop saying he's blinking in Morse code. Stop.
Interesting that's happening not only on the left, their reaction, but then you look at the right. Cutting spending is not a new thing for the right. But what I think DOGE has done is it's allowed a permission structure or political cover to get these things done. And the left would be wise to take a page out of the right's playbook and say, this is what the American people want. They turned out in droves by the millions to support these sorts of efforts.
Fred, Texas Democrat Jasmine Crockett also seemed to belittle President Trump's support for the idea of sending America.
She didn't even belittle them. She just said, hey, like we should have better transparency on what is being cut exactly. How much of it is being cut? Who's in charge here?
Checks based on these DOGE savings. Listen.
You Americans are just fucked. It's cute that you think that this wouldn't impact everyone else on the planet. It's cute that you think America doesn't impact the rest of the world. That is adorable.
He's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID that was done by Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times.
Fred, why does it seem that Democrats don't even want to give this a chance?
Well, Sandra and Jessica, I think the reality is that Democrats are not opposed to a sound and really fiscally responsible financial plan. As a matter of fact, I'd like to remind our viewers that the last time...
Yes, a much better fiscal plan by Republicans. As many tax cuts as the rich as possible. Got every single program that helps people ever. Yes, good.
America had a budget surplus, much less a balanced budget, was under a Democratic president named Bill Clinton. With that being said, our issue for many of us, or at least for me personally, is not what necessarily Donald Trump is trying to do, but it's how he and Elon Musk are going about doing it. You cannot be accurate in what you're doing by using an algorithm and AI only. You need to actually talk to people, and you can't just go in 2 days with a computer and say, okay, here are the people we need to fire, and here are the changes we need to make. Yes, government needs to be right-sized, as some said, and yes, there are places where you can trim fat. But the reality is that they are indeed taking a wide approach as opposed to actually trying to find real savings, and that's a problem.
Okay, I'll let Jessica respond to that real quickly before we move on. It seems to me, Fred, you're not against DOGE.
Well, no, I'm not against a sound fiscal policy, and I don't think Democrats are. Again, that's
sound fiscal policy and DOGE in the same sentence.
Not been our brand, and that's not been our thing. But the one thing I will say before we get to Jessica here is that when we talk about the DOGE at the state levels, I remind people that here in Georgia and in Texas, Republicans have held the governor's mansion for at least 20 years. And so when they're talking about bringing a state level DOGE to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, you've been in charge of these states. So whatever waste, fraud, and abuse there is, that is under your watch.
All right, Jessica.
Look, I would just say that the American people don't have time to wait around. We are in bankruptcy. This is a national crisis, and there needs to be swift action. And I think the president's executive order that he released just 2 days ago, which actually places a DOGE employee at every single agency across the federal government, and they'll partner with OIRA, which is the regulatory branch within OMB. That is the scalp approach, Sandra. That is the specific and detailed, measured approach. So let Elon go and sell this with Ms. Chetty on stage at CPAC. I have no problem with that. I love it. It's getting everyone's attention. Again, it's giving that political will to get this done, the permission structure I was talking about. And now let the president's EO and that directive to those DOGE employees be the scalpel to fine-tune exactly where we need.
Scalpel, fine-tune, while they put Elon Musk on the screen with a fucking chainsaw. Is Mackenzie advising DOGE? It seems like awfully similar to me. Before they helped Disney cut expenses in Disney World, there's not been a single deadly accident. Guess what happened after they helped them cut loss? Haha, good things, surely, right? Letting him get suited on a stage with a chainsaw is a sound political strategy. Again, this is what I was talking about earlier in the pre-show. There is a reason why the Mitt Romneys of the world do not like and do not respect the Donald Trumps of the world, right? It's because the Donald Trump strategy is not a good, long-lasting strategy. When you make giant sweeping changes like this, people start to notice, oh, I'm not getting my food stamps anymore. Oh, there was a disaster and nothing got better because FEMA has no funding. Oh, I lost my health care that they told me, they promised me I wouldn't lose. Oh, I don't get to retire anymore. My Social Security is gone. When you cut all of these things at the same time and people feel the immediate consequences of cutting all of these programs, it's not good. It's not good. Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell, same thing. They're the boiling the frog slowly, raising the temp slowly. And I don't think that it's a good long-term strategy. I mean, I think it's a good long-term strategy for the rest of us, but I don't think it's a good long-term strategy for the Republicans to just throw people directly into the boiling water. They're shooting the frog with a shotgun. Yeah. When Social Security is going to be cut, he's going to lose support very quickly. I mean, saying you're going to cut Social Security, saying you're going to delay Social Security and delay retirement for people, that is the easiest way to lose support. It is the fastest way and the easiest way to lose support. So, I guess we'll see. And this is, again, this is the thing that makes me hopeful. I think that the question is more so, how much damage will they do before they're eventually ousted? The Trump family has and always been nouveau rich. They've never been accepted by old money, and that infuriates Donald. Well, yeah, because he's crass as fuck. Ousted by what? I mean, I don't know. How many more indictments do you think we can get? 0, probably, I would guess. I mean, as far as we know, here's one thing I will say, okay? It is a known fact that the FBI, its concerns with regards to domestic terrorism is entirely and has been for a long time with right-wingers, with the lone wolf, like Groyper right-wingers, Proud Boys, etc. And I mean, if you look at a lot of these rallies, like Proud Boy rallies or neo-Nazi rallies, a lot of them are violent. Oh, I know, very shocking, very surprising. They are an actual concern. Left-wing rallies like Black Lives Matters, that's not a concern to the FBI. It's just not. 96% of those rallies were completely peaceful. And 4%, it's either 4 or 6%, I might be switching the numbers up, had some level of violence. And even in those instances, it's hard to tell how many of those were caused by some random person trying to incite violence. Because there's footage of at least one of those starting to begin, and it's some random guy that's not even with the protesters. The government cares a lot more about right-wingers when it comes to domestic terrorism than they do about left-wingers. And I was going to go somewhere with this. Wait. I mean, January 6th. Yeah. The right is a lot more willing to go full insanity, which is why both of the assassination attempts on Trump were done by right-wingers. I would not be surprised if push comes to shove, enough right-wingers get mad enough to continue trying to assassinate the sitting president. Like, right-wingers talk about how excited they are at the thought of a burglar coming into their house and trying to, like, steal a valuable so they get to kill them. Think about how many of them, when losing their livelihood, getting fired because they're a federal agent of some kind or a government agent worker of some kind, they lose their health care, they, God forbid, lose their home, they lose their Social Security. Then what? The right's also way more militarized. So that's the one thing that gives me hope. That, like, this has a good chance of backfiring heavily.
To root out waste, fraud, and abuse.
All right, as we take in that image again, I want to move on to this. Senate Republicans scoring a big win happened this morning.
Hope for this make-believe scenario. It's not a make-believe scenario. If you believe that material conditions impact people's decision-making, which is factually correct, then you will believe that people having their material conditions completely destroyed by their government programs they rely on being gutted will respond. I mean, I guess if you live in fantasy land and think that people just commit crimes for fun, yeah.
Their preferred budget resolution after back-to-back votes on Democrat amendments went through. Their plan lays out funding for some of President Trump's biggest priorities. Trump taking an aggressive approach in his first month in office. He signed 73 executive orders so far on issues ranging from abortion to immigration to trade. The Daily Mail asked Republican senators to sum up Trump's first month in just one word. Some of their answers: aggressive, bold, action, and hurricane. The White House says the president is delivering results to the American people.
President Trump is doing exactly what he promised, and he's doing what Americans have begged and pleaded for generations, but no one has done. He's not just talking.
I like how when you see bald people, you can immediately tell if they're good or bad. Like, within 5 seconds of looking at them, you can be like, oh, this guy's chill. Oh no, this guy's a cool guy. This guy, I would honestly leave $10,000 on a table and they wouldn't take it. They wouldn't even touch it. They'd look at it. And then there's like, this guy, I wouldn't trust him near my cup. I would never leave an uncovered cup around this guy. You can just immediately feel it. It's like, is it giving Lex Luthor or is it giving Northern Lion? And you can just look and be like, yep, yep, I see, okay, all right.
Talking about cutting waste out of government. He is cutting out government programs that don't work or that worse, abuse and hurt the American people. He's stopping federal censorship. This is
the reason why. Their dubious minds cannot hide behind a mop of hair. Exactly. You can see their intentions directly.
Stopping weaponized government. He's using those powers to protect Americans and American lives.
So new polls this week do show Trump's job approval dipped just a bit since he took office, but is holding pretty steady in the high to mid 40% range. Fred, what he's been doing seems pretty popular.
Don't disrespect Lex Luthor by comparing him to Stephen Miller. Sorry, right.
And he is answering what the American people asked for when they voted for him.
Yeah, his approval rating
this is like the first thing that I've seen on a Fox News show that's actually accurate and true. This is the first time I've seen them not lie. Correct. Everyone who voted for Trump, this is what you voted for. This is what it's like the people who are surprised that Trump is deporting people. Like,
good relative to his approval rating in his first term. Relative to other presidents after 30 days, it is lower. So I just want to just say that. But that being said, Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and that is indisputable. The reality, though, is what are the outcomes that we are actually seeing from those things? We're not sure. At one point, he and Elon Musk said, oh, we found $8 billion in savings. In reality, it was $8 million in savings. And when pressed on it, the idea or the response in general was that, well, I'm going to say some things that are inaccurate. Well, the inaccuracies is what DOGE is supposed to be solving and supposed to be fixing. And so that's not happening, or at least it does not yet seem that that is happening. But that being said,
I think we're 1 month in here, and you want everything fixed in 30 days.
They want to send $5,000 back.
Jessica, go ahead.
Look, I think over 77 million Americans voted for President Trump's agenda, and it includes all of the executive orders that have already come out of the White House. I think we should applaud the Senate last night and into this morning for putting together a framework that begins to tackle these main issues. I think we have a major 7 to 9 days ahead on Capitol Hill as they try to reconcile their differences back to the House. And so I think it's important.
Reconcile their differences. You mean give Republicans whatever they want. Okay, got it. Sorry.
Important, Sandra, that we remember exactly what's at stake. It's delivering on the president's agenda for all Americans. And we've got a really important deadline coming up on March 14th, where one of the big planks from the Trump agenda is border security. And that border funding is going to get very, very tight when the CR expires. So the Senate taking this big first step with their framework budget allows the process to start. We've already seen now that the House is going to hopefully follow suit on Tuesday. And so how you reconcile these two really packages that are going to move through the chambers, I think this is the task of President Trump. Only he can unite. I think we're going to see an even more presence from him over the last 20 days.
Wow. Well, we're about to see him any moment now. Jessica, Fred, thanks so much. Enjoyed the conversation.
Enjoyed the conversation. Yes. Who's the Hillary Clinton clone working for Fox News? What was her name? This is Jessica Anderson? I think so.
DOGE savings.
What is this chatter? What is this chatter? I'm sorry, Blast. Unfortunately, you're the first chatter to stir the pot today, so I think you might get a lot of replies. I think this guy's just drunk on a Sunday morning, guys. Hey, low IQ folks, you're all delusional. You accuse the right of being in a disinformation bubble, yet you are the one in the disinformation bubble from what we learned about USAID. Paying medias for large-scale deception. Yet those same medias would be right in their opinion of Trump, etc. Delusional. Delusional, folks. Party of peace and tolerance, I see. As usual, deny reality. Attack whoever says otherwise. Delusion. Guys, he's just trying to enjoy a couple mixed drinks on a Sunday morning. Is that a crime? Is it a crime to get drunk and start typing in random Twitch chats? Is that now a crime? Is it? Is it wrong? It's 12 o'clock somewhere, guys. It's 12 o'clock somewhere. All right. Dude attacks us and then says, stop attacking me. Calls everyone around me delusional. Unbelievable, you're just attacking me for disagreeing with you. Keep going, man, keep going. You guys can play with your food. A little, only a little, all right? Ask him how much he paid for the eggs in his cocktails. Hey, how much did you pay for the eggs in your cocktails? Hey, yeah, you. Yeah. Wait, before we go on any further, one sec. Wait. Hold. It's this meme. Donald Trump has been in office for 1 full month. The price of eggs are up 23%. The price of natural gas is up 17%. Price of sugar is up 16%. Price of wheat is up 8%. And so on and so on and so forth. Corn, cheese, lumber, electricity, gasoline, soybeans, cheese. I already said cheese. Sorry, cheese on the mind. You're the rat baby. This post is misleading. Price increases are influenced by many factors, not just 1 month of Trump policies. Economic trends develop over time, and this kind of framing is pure political propaganda without nuance. But they do under Biden. Let's go, Brandon. Why is eggs so dang expensive? Under Trump, the cost of eggs is a complex interplay between inflation and other factors like bird flu, of which the president has very little control. It's this again. It's this again. It's just, oh man, dude. Oh man. Oh man. It's just gas prices rehashed again. Yeah, it was gas prices before and now it's egg prices. And they're doing the same thing again. I thought it was supposed to be the egg age day one. Yeah, Denise said he was going to fix it all on the first day that he got in and now everything is more expensive. Really makes you think. Luckily, I'm sure cutting the bird flu team and then rehiring them in a panic is going to make eggs cheaper. Right? Right, guys. Right. Surely. Okay. All right. 1 second. Next. Oh, can we, before we move on, to the next part, I just want to finish up this on like I'm sure many of you guys have seen these stimulus payment talks.
DOGE dividend checks that would be 20% back to taxpayers, 20% to pay down the debt. 60% is left. Who gets that?
When you achieve savings, you can either return it to taxpayers, you can return it to our debtors, or it can be cycled into next year's budget, and then it just lowers the overall baseline for next year. This is all going to be worked on through the reconciliation process with Congress that's going underway right now.
The White House breaking down how government savings will be used. Now, DOGE is proposing that a percentage should go straight to Americans' pockets. And James Fishback is a DOGE advisor. He came up with this idea. That escalated quickly. James,
Which, by the way, you guys are getting robbed. I mean, first of all, I don't even believe that they will send out $5,000. I think it's just something to make people excited and make people think that, like, DOGE is doing anything. But also, the $5,000 is like drops in a bucket compared to what they're gutting.
So here was Elon Musk yesterday talking to Hannity about this. Watch.
The overall goal is to try to get $1 trillion out of the deficit. And if the deficit is not brought under control, America will go bankrupt. The massive waste, fraud, and abuse that has been going on, which is leading to a $2 trillion a year deficit. That's what the president was handed on Jan 20th, a $2 trillion deficit. It's insane.
James, sorry, that was on Tuesday, not last night. But the sentiment continues. And a question based on even on what Stephen Miller was just explaining to Peter Doocy yesterday, the $55 billion in savings that DOGE has found so far, has that money then been transferred back to the Treasury, or is it still at those agencies waiting some sort of assignment from either the president or actually from Congress?
Which, by the way, the $55 billion thing, it's not even an accurate count, because the people that were in charge, the 19-year-old gropers that were in charge of, like, scraping, I guess they made it so that it counts commas and periods the same. So there are multiple instances where they're claiming $8 billion of savings, and it's actually $8 million. And this has happened multiple times. This also doesn't take into account the multiple forms of savings that are just gutting programs that do something good. This would be like saying, I need to pay my credit card debt. Where can I apply some savings? Where can I cut the unnecessary waste? I guess I just won't pay any of my electric bills or my gas bills or any of my utility bills or my car insurance payment. Now I can finally pay off all that debt that I have. You can't just remove funding for things that are needed by everyday people and pretend like you saved money. That's not you saving money. Saving money would be finding out that, like, a specific branch has way too many people working at that branch and being like, okay, we probably can reallocate some of these workers somewhere else. Actually, why do we have like 50 workers working on this one case file? This is not necessary. We can move some of these guys over to a different department. That would be efficiency, right? Because let's be real. A lot of people that work in offices, and even myself when I worked in offices, not a lot of those people are working full 8-hour shifts, okay? Mostly because you don't get rewarded for working a full 8-hour shift. You get anti-rewarded, where your boss starts to expect you to, like, do 10 times the effort for the same pay. And then when you ask for a raise, they don't give it to you. They're closer to, I won't pay my credit card debt bill. With the savings, I can pay off my credit card debt. Yeah, actually, that's pretty good. Defense budget is like half the damn budget, though. We can cut that. Yeah. Or another way that we could cut, a lot of people that do work at their jobs are not necessarily working full 8-hour days. There's probably a couple people that could be reallocated. There's probably a couple people that are working in, like, sections of the government where they're not doing as much work as they could be doing. And there's a lot of places in the government that are underworked or underfunded, understaffed, and we could relocate those people. That's immediately more efficiency, right? And, like, also, I mean, I've also worked jobs where there's just nothing to do. Like, I only need to do a little bit of work because everybody else already has max work. So, like, I guess I'll just do the little bit that I need to do that they need to hire. They needed to hire a whole new worker, right? But if you were talking about actual waste, like actually just cutting waste, the first place to cut waste would be the defense budget. And I'm not even talking about cutting the defense budget. I'm not even saying we're not funding any of this government stuff, the defense budget anymore. I'm just talking about the fact that defense contracts, every single one of those, we are being scammed on. Every single one. I'm not joking. Every single one. We overpay by like the thousands of % for everything. Oh, we need more toilet paper? That'll be $500 per toilet paper roll. We need more meals? That'll be $5,000 for one kernel of corn. We need more nuts and bolts? That'll be $5 billion for one nut, one bolt. And it's like that for everything because the defense contracts are a total joke right now. They're a complete joke. I mean, again, it's all like scams. The reason why DOGE isn't going to actually cut that is because Elon Musk is one of these people that wants those type of contracts for himself, that wants one of those contracts for his friends, etc. But who else is going to bomb brown kids overseas? Oh, fuck. Wait, I forgot. We need the brown children murder fund. I totally forgot about that. Sorry. Right. That's really important. Joel, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the gifts up to Moonshaped Pool. Thank you. Fine, let's waste 20 more trillion in useless initiatives around the world. Do you know that like a lot of the initiatives that USAID engage in are just ways so that we can test on people that are not Americans effectively? There's an HIV epidemic in one region. We can test a bunch of different ways to treating this on non-Americans. It's soft power plus preventing illnesses. It's not even a question about like whether or not it's a good thing to do. It's about the fact that we should do research on diseases that have a good chance to impact people. Not to mention the fact that when you let diseases and viruses just like mutate over and over and over again, it's bad. That's currently the biggest concern about bird flu. Currently, bird flu is non-transmissible between people. So let's say someone gets bird flu from, a bird. They can't give the bird flu to another person. The second that bird flu mutates so that it is transmissible between people, we are so fucked. We are so fucked. And we desperately need to make sure that doesn't happen. How do you do that? By trying your best to kill bird flu, by making it as eradicated as you can. That's also why the measles outbreak in Texas is really bad, because maybe the rest of us are vaccinated for measles, but if enough measles goes around and it mutates, our vaccines won't be effective anymore. And then you have suddenly tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people getting measles, and we don't have a vaccine for this new mutated version of measles. Super measles wasn't on my bingo card? Not yet. Not yet. Basically, any amount of money that you put towards trying to eradicate diseases, eradicating viruses that have a good chance of killing people, that's good. That's good. That is objectively good. You know someone is right when they don't respond to your criticism. They just sort of make like a vague statement. It's not giving us advantage. It's making us all slaves to the debt. I can tell you're right because you didn't respond to anything. You just pointed at some statement that means nothing. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. You got it. You got it, man. You got it. You got it. Keep going. Just just one more shot, bro. One more shot and it'll start making sense for you. Okay, one more shot, man. Oh, God. Poor Chatter, dude. Poor Chatter. USAID enslaved my mom. No! Why would USAID do this? Oh, God. Oh, Batman the Horse, thank you so much for the 4 months. Thank you. Thanks. All right. Okay. Shall we continue?
Chris. Well, it's somewhere in the ether, Dana, but I think the more important question is that where is this money going to go when we end up saving it when DOGE is all said and done? President Trump is off to a smashing start. What an incredible first month. Now it's time to look at the DOGE savings, as our proposal calls out, and send 20% of that right back to the hardworking Americans who sent it to D.C. in the first place, Dana. They didn't send it to Washington, D.C. for it to be spent on a rocky Sesame Street or on a transgender opera in Colombia. They sent it for our roads, our bridges, our health care, and our education. That clearly has been lacking. So guess what? Taxpayers are overdue for restitution. They need a refund. And I'm proud that President Trump supports our proposal.
So would, in your idea, and maybe it's not
Iraqi Sesame Street
fully fleshed out yet, but would the dividend checks go to people, like all taxpayers, or just to people making a certain amount of money?
It's a great question. So the plan, everyone can read it at mydogedividend.com. The plan is very simple, Dana. We think DOGE will save $2 trillion in total. You take 20% of that, that's $400 billion. You divide that by the number of American households that will pay federal income tax this year. That's 79 million. That gets you $5,000 to every American tax-paying household next summer. It'll have President Trump's signature on it, because without him, without his leadership,
they'd rather buy you out than actually fix anything? Yep. Well, one thing conservatives didn't expect is how popular the stimulus checks would have been. That's what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to offset some of the horrible shit that they're doing by giving people some paychecks, which I don't even know if the executive branch should not be able to do that because Congress is the wallet. And then they can blame Democrats for not going along with the president deciding randomly how to spend money.
this would not be possible.
Okay, the New York Times asked this, a DOGE dividend. President Trump floated giving taxpayers a piece of any savings that Elon Musk's cost-cutting generates, which could reignite inflation. And I'm no AI expert, but I just checked on Grok. I just asked a question. Would giving these checks possibly lead to more inflation? And Grok says yes. What do you say?
I say no, and here's why, Dana. The first reason is that our economy is
For the entirety of the COVID stimulus checks, these fuckers, the only thing they could say is that it's going to ruin inflation and it's going to make everything worse and we can't give people stimulus checks. And now, no, it's not going to make inflation worse because the economy is very complicated.
much better shape the last time stimulus checks were indiscriminately sent out by President Biden. We had a massive labor shortage, supply chain dislocations, and they were sent out to everybody, not just taxpayers. The second reason is that this money is coming from direct savings. So remember, for every $5 that DOGE saves, $1 goes back to hardworking taxpayers. And a poll from 2019 CNBC found that 70% of Americans would use this type of check to pay down debt, which is the opposite of inflationary. It's deflationary. So this is good policy. So it's good economics.
But when we talk about inflation, we're not talking about people's personal debts, you fucking dolt. You lying sack of shit. When we're talking about inflation, we're talking about larger concepts here. We're talking about macro. Oh, God, dude.
That's going to be my last question. Do you think that if somebody does
also,
ultimately get
these
this
guys
check,
were super against the student loan forgiveness, and they said that it would make inflation worse. And they said that the president doesn't have the authority of the wallet. That's what Congress has. And they said that they're just going to use it to pay off the debt, and they're not going to actually reinvest it into the economy. And that was a bad thing. And now we're doing this. Now we're saying it's good that they're going to use it to pay off debt. Then why were you guys against the student loan debt removal?
if they have credit card debt, they should use that extra money that they found, the savings, the money they weren't expecting to get back, and pay down their own debt?
Absolutely. Just like
So then
D.C. should get its house in order.
the same?
The government should do the same, which is why this proposal calls for the rest of the money, the other 80%, to narrow the deficit, Dana, and to pay down our national debt. But American taxpayers who have worked hard, they need a break. They need restitution. The biggest part, Dana, though, is we incentivize them to report waste, fraud, and abuse, as President Trump said on Air Force One. Report waste, fraud, and abuse, Dana, because guess what? The more DOGE saves, the bigger their DOGE dividend check is.
Stephen Miller breaking down the expected plan to distribute the funds that have been clawed back by DOGE, or at least some of them, as those DOGE dollars may soon be headed for your bank account. President Trump floating a plan that would use some of the department's savings to help pay down America's debt and have more go directly to the taxpayers. Let's bring in our panel. Former Biden White House Director of Message Planning, Megan Hayes, and GOPAC Chairman David Avello. So here's what President Trump said about the idea of a
photo of Kash Patel
dividend on Air Force One. Listen here.
I love it. A 20% dividend, so to speak, for the money that we're saving by going after the
DOGE dividend, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
waste, fraud, and abuse, and all of the other things that are happening. We're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt.
40%. Don't know where the other 60 goes, but as Stephen Miller was mentioning a moment ago, the three things you can do: give it back to people, use it to pay down the debt, or put it back into the general fund.
Fox News hosts, the evil corrupts, man. He looks like he's made out of wax. Like, this is a common Fox News problem, or like just in general right-wing problem, where the idea of aging is so terrifying that they just like get so much plastic surgery that they just look inhuman and like waxy. It's very scary.
Where do you think, Megan, it should go?
I mean, I think if the whole purpose of DOGE is to cut the deficit, it should go to the deficit. I think that, I think they're going to need to focus on their accounting. One time they said $8 billion, and it ends up being less than $8 million that was actually cut for DOGE. Also, we should look back to the Bush checks, or the Bush checks that came out, which took $100 billion to cover for people to get $300 and $600 per household. So there's a lot of money to give people money back that should be going to pay down the deficit if Trump is serious about balancing our budget.
I did a calculation yesterday that if you took the $55 billion that they've clawed back so far and you distributed it.
I like how she literally said, hey, there's some accounting errors. They said $8 billion, it was $8 million. So first of all, they need to get that under control. And then he says, well, anyways, back to the $55 billion. I'm just going to pretend like I didn't hear you say that.
Among every American, it'd be about $167 per person. To a lot of people, that's real money. But he's saying only...
For a lot of people, that's real money, yes.
20%. So,
well, but think about how many guitars you could buy, John, and have jam sessions on X in the afternoons. I mean, what we're really talking about is
the right is getting better at comedy, and it's making lefties nervous.
Who should be spending this money? Should we be allowing Americans to invest it or spend it to help pay for everyday living and bring inflationary costs down? Or should we allow government and have it be the priority spenders? And what the Trump administration is saying is, let's give it back to Americans. Now, here's the key to all of this. It is also, are we going to also make sure tax increases don't come because we don't continue the tax cuts that happened in the first Trump administration? And if Congress doesn't keep those tax cuts going, every American's going to see a tax increase.
You know, when it comes to guitars, I'm like Phil Graham with guns. I got more than I need, but not as many as I want. I want to talk about the plane crashes that have been happening here and in Toronto, because Democrats are pointing the finger of blame at President Trump. Eric Swalwell talking about FAA cuts, saying this to Fox News Digital. Trump is president. President Trump is in charge of air safety. All crashes are Trump's fault, I guess, including the one in a different country. But here's what a guy who actually runs an airline said about the FAA cuts. Listen to Ed Bastian from Delta Airlines here.
After looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
The cuts do not affect us, Gail. I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions.
He runs an airline. One of his aircraft crashed in Toronto the other day. When it comes to this type of criticism, should the Dems just park it?
I just think they need to be really careful with their rhetoric. I think this is really breathless to be saying this. I don't think you can blame a plane crash on the president, whether or not he's making cuts at the FAA or not, and whether those cuts are justified or not, or they're different conversations. This is where I think Democrats.
Man, what world do conservatives live in? Like the average Fox News watchers, where everything that happens under Biden's administration is Biden's fault, and that anything that happens under Trump's administration is not Trump's fault.
Democrats need to be very careful, and I do not think you should be sowing fear into people who fly. It is a very safe way to travel, and this is one of those times where this will hit Americans, and they need to understand that their government is on the side of safety, and Democrats are not doing that by fear-mongering.
So Swalwell, who apparently throws around rhetoric without the benefit of fact-checking first, said that there's been more aircraft incidents in Trump's first month than there has been in any other presidency. Sean Duffy put this out on X. He says there's growing media narrative that there are more airplane crashes now in Trump's presidency than under Biden. This is false. Here are the facts. In Biden's first month, there were 57 aviation incidents in the U.S. compared to 35 under Trump. I mean, it's just such talk borders on irresponsible.
Yeah, so like, how are we defining aviation incidents? I feel so bad, dude. I really do actually feel bad for like everyday average Republicans that are they just fall for this slop. This is the same thing as like, I don't know if anyone has seen it, the transphobes that try and push the propaganda that trans women are violent predators or whatever. And they'll use this one stat that shows like trans women are like 10 times more likely to end up with sex-related crimes. And then you go and like look into the details, and it's because trans women are way more likely to end up in the field that is prostitution, and getting arrested as a prostitute is a sex-related crime. And then suddenly it has nothing to do with people committing sexual assault on other people. It has to do with the fact that our country is super backwards with regard to sex work. It's a lot of times it is because sex work is the only avenue they have. Yes, it's like an insane rate. Like the likelihood that trans women will enter sex work relative to cis women. This is the same shit. It's just like incidents. Who knows what the incidents are? It could be like during testing, there's a problem. Pre-flight, there's a problem. It could be plane crashes. Who knows? Well, they wouldn't want to specify because then it might make their case weaker.
Certainly, they don't follow the counsel as if you have nothing good to say nothing at all. Right? They only have bad things.
It's on your side. Shut up.
And there is no message coming, a positive message to come out of the Democratic Party right now. So they must continue the rhetoric that they are doing, which is unhelpful to them and ultimately helpful to Trump, because people look at this and say, well, that's silly. Of course, the president's not responsible for an air crash that happens in Canada.
Yeah. Time, let's bring in the media panel. Walkaway spokesperson Natalie Beisner and American Values PAC spokeswoman Caitlin Sinclair. Thank you both for coming on. Natalie, to you first. Former Democratic advisor Dan Turrentine said this. I think he gets it. Watch.
We're failing the common sense test.
rather than saying, hey, some of what they're finding, anybody in the right mind would say, we should end it. Instead, we scream about everything. And so when we find stuff that, in our opinion, probably is worthy of a discussion, the average voter says, forget it. All you do is scream no, and they're crazy.
So what he's saying is this just crying wolf again and again. Everything Trump says, they say it's terrible. They're crying wolf.
Calling out hypocrisy. Crying wolf.
And then when there may be something they've got a point on, nobody believes them.
Yeah, it would be a much better look for the Democrats to actually admit that maybe there is some...
No, you're a good Antifa spy, and you're right. It's disproportionately affected by vulnerable situations because of the existing discrimination. People really think this is a choice for attention. Yeah.
bloat to cut. Maybe there is some ways to cut. What J.D. Vance...
I'm always genuinely shocked when they bring on someone that doesn't have blonde hair on Fox News.
Was saying
like
today that we were paying for Afghani women
like, do
to
they
have
know
modern
that
art
this is
lessons in toilets.
happening on their
show?
show?
I think that Democrats should be able to admit maybe we don't actually need that. It would be much more
did it
sensible.
say she's a content creator? No. No wonder she's on. No.
Afghani women.
This is DEI, dude. This is DEI. Influencers should not be on television.
To have modern art lessons in toilets. I think that Democrats should be able to admit maybe we don't actually need that. It would be much more sensible for the
We needed to stop this immediately at the first instance where a content creator ended up on television. You know what that was, chat? Fred. We should have seen that and said, this will only lead to bad things. Content creators are now barred off of television. Who? It's okay. Continue being clueless. It's better for you.
Democrats to just be honest about this, especially because they say they're for the middle class and the working class. Come on.
Yeah.
Donald Trump announces the External Revenue Service, and his goal is very simple. His goal is to abolish the Internal Revenue Service and let all the outsiders pay. I mean, this is someone who is focused on America. Let's drive down our waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what Donald Trump wants to do. Balance our budget and cut our taxes.
We're hearing a lot about those potential tax cuts and what Congress is going to have to deal with. We're also hearing from the White House about...
I just don't understand, like, the insanity. Like, we're going to cut down inflation by having DOGE remove all of the excess spending, which we will immediately undo by giving everyone $5,000 and increasing tax cuts. This is all within 11 minutes. Crazy also, how is this legal? What, like the Fox News or like the behavior? Because Fox News is only legal since it's, entertainment. It's actually not a news network, it's entertainment. And anyone who watches it obviously knows that they're just doing entertainment. They're not actually reporting the news. It would take an idiot to fall for the idea that Fox News is a news network. Come on. Which is real. I'm not joking, Chad. That's how they won that lawsuit. Yes, I, for one, am not entertained. I'm not entertained or value-tained. Everything that Trump's doing, it's not legal. It's not legal.
what they want to do with the savings that these cost-cutting commissions have been working to find. President Trump even telling reporters he likes the idea of something of a dividend, something to give money back to Americans. But guys, this is still very much in the early stages, kind of just that trial balloon out there, but it'll certainly get a lot of discussion. Brian, Ainsley, and Lawrence?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to argue with cutting 6,000 people from the IRS.
No.
Dude, why did Brian Kilmeade always look like this? He always looks like he's confused where he is. Oh my God, what a jump scare. Dude, why does he look like that? Oh my God, they powder his face so hard, dude. The makeup artist hates him.
Afternoon.
The makeup artist gives him like open casket makeup. It's bad. It's bad. It's not good.
Martha, and if President Trump has proof from his DOGE guys that there is widespread Social Security fraud,
nah, that's closed casket makeup.
that means that there is a widespread federal financial crime happening. And so what do you do if you know that there's a crime happening? You report it. That is just what the president did a little while ago, directly to the Attorney General.
We have one person at 360, which is strange because the country is 250. So it's been there 110 years older than the country. Here, Pam, you better take a look at this. That's much better for you than for me. Now the question is, are they getting paid? Because somebody maybe is getting paid. Yeah, I have a feeling you will. I said, what a convenient thing. This is so nice.
For his part, Elon Musk is literally laughing off complaints from liberals that he's got bad intentions with data at the Treasury and Social Security departments.
I mean, listen, like if I steal some Social Security, I can finally buy nice things.
I like how they can't play more than like 5 seconds, like even 3 seconds of Elon Musk talking, because then it immediately shows that he was so fucking high on that stage. That was like the only full sentence he made during the entire time he was up there.
There was a very awkward moment here at the White House today. The president told the Democratic Governor Janet Mills of Maine no more federal funding for Maine if they don't comply with the new executive order on banning men from women's sports.
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
That is very unusual here at the White House, not what we are used to seeing when governors are invited guests of the president. And there's a lot of lawsuits flying around here. In fact, at that very same luncheon, the Attorney General Pam Bondi was seated at a table with the New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who she just sued.
Excellent. All right, good. Every once in a while, we have to watch some Fox News so I can just make sure that I'm still not insane and that Fox News is still just the worst thing you've ever seen in your life.